Okay, so some stuff before the video starts. First of all, copper. YouTube has enforced this weird act. I'm not gonna explain it, I don't have the time. Neither do I have the energy. So, according to this, basically, I will have to set my videos to either for kids or not for kids. Because of this, I will lose my comment section and end screens and title cards, stuff like that, if I set it for kids. And yeah, a bunch of my videos are gonna be under that category. This will exclude my vlogs and Q&A vids. There's only one Q&A vid, by the way, which was like 2000 years ago, I believe. What else? Yeah, some channel updates. So we somehow crossed 500 subscribers. It's kind of weird, but it happened. Now, the weird thing is, I will do a 500 subscribers special. It's not a giveaway, calm down. If you know what it is, that means you're following me on Instagram, which is at HeyHeyOday. Some more channel update stuff is that I won't be uploading at a very constant and scheduled rate in the year 2020 because last I remember, studies and YouTube don't really mesh well. What else do we have? That's about it. Yay! Now, without any further ado, let's begin with Carnage. To me, Carnage has always been that one weird part of the symbiote family, that one weird cousin they always get along with, who has an unruly obsession for sharp stuff, killing people, and somehow has a murderer inside him. Ignoring all that, his design never appealed to me. It might have appealed to a lot of people, but to me it was just another Venom with red lines and white eyes. Even though it was really rivaling Venom's design and had a really good contrast with him, but when they finally revealed the design for Carnage in the new comic Absolute Carnage, by the way, he has like a million forms in that comic, I loved it. He had a unique design for once. I mean, he was already quite unique, but this was something different, both design wise and I guess structure wise as well. He now embodied a carcass of what was left of Cletus Cassidy, and Carnage was now also into the entire I will kill everybody and conquer the world vibe, which added somewhat of another dimension to his character. Now the figure on the other hand was three-dimensional, and to get that aspect I was going to use flower making wires or golden wires in order to create a wire skeleton on which I would use Fevicryl molded, which is like an epoxy compound or clay, and use that as a sculpting base, and then finally use nature's best form of spiky things, which are toothpicks, to create Carnage's spikes. That's very simple. Then I made a really rough sketch of what Carnage will be like in its figure form, doing some changes here and there to better fit my streamlined thought of the best Carnage design. Now I used my golden wires to create a wire skeleton. Link to how to make the skeleton in the description. You can look that video up also. Now, after creating this, I extended the feet and arms a little bit because this is going to be larger than my usual figures, as even in the comics he's quite huge. Then I began with the sculpting. I began by sculpting the upper torso, letting that dry, and then finally moving on to the lower part, which connects to the pelvis. Because of this shifting in sculpting, I could easily let the both dry at separate times, allowing the first one to dry first, the second one the latter time. Because of this, I had better articulation in the torso and could easily access the joint once both of them were dry, allowing me to change a little bit of it with a cutter and some sculpting tools. Now I wanted the arms to have changeable accessories, and the accessories I'll reveal later. So first of all, to actually have that gimmick, I attached some tubing made of ivory sheets which had enough space to accommodate a toothpick. This will make sense later. Then I sculpted the arms, shoulders, and attached some spikes onto the shoulders. The spikes part was completely in my design. It has not been done in the comic. If you look it up, I think one or two might be there, but I just like spikes on a Carnage figure. After that, I sculpted both the accessories. That was the mace and the claw hand. I wanted another one, which I would do later. Then I finally moved on to the back appendages. I don't know what these are. They're just on his back all the time. They look like cheap ass AirPods. I know that part. I realized that while recording this. I did the other arm side by side whilst I was sculpting these. Then I finally moved on to doing the feet and the legs. They were really simple. Carnage's arms and legs in this design are quite simple to sculpt for a beginner, and that's why I would really suggest this to one. The torso part is a little bit confusing with the complex design of the spine and all that, but it's not really that hard, the sculpting and all. Then I finally moved on to the face. This was the toughest part of the entire figure, not tough as in compared to my other figures. The teeth were a little tricky to sculpt, and I also made the axe thing. Now it was finally time for one thing which I regretted not being able to plan out, which is the painting. For this I took two shades of red. The darker one was for shading, and the yellow was also for shading. These are optional. You may or may not use these if you're making your own Carnage action figure. Now, using a thick brush, I first painted the entire figure in two heavy coats of red, leaving the face with a thinner coat so that there was no hiding of the details and the sculpt. Because of this, I had a good thick coat, and I could actually start shading with the darker red. It's not visible on camera. If it is, then you have a good phone and good quality of internet. Hooray, bastard. Now it was finally time for the eyes and the symbol, which appeared to glow in the comic. Because of this, I had to go in with a white coat of the symbol and the eyes. This took a few paint coats because white doesn't really go that well on red. Then I finally finished it off with black and yellow in places. I did a spiral on the head, which is Null's symbol. You'll get that reference if you actually know what the comic is about. Then it was time to varnish everything. I painted the hands and covered their toothpicks with paper tape so that the varnish would not give them a heavy coat, which would damage them whilst switching the hands and all that. Then I took artist's picture varnish and gave everything 2 solid coats. Now as a design, in the comic, Carnage has a few versions. You have the classic one, then you have the weird one, then you have the really weird one, which he goes full malnourished child. I kind of combined these three to form the one that I made. Then you have the Ghost Rider one, which is cool. I might just make that, but it's really confusing to sculpt. And then you have the Leviathan God one, which, yeah, it works, but it's just a little bit overkill for a Carnage design. Minor spoilers to the comic. The entire comic just revolves around Carnage killing everybody who has ever had a Venom symbiote, taking their codex from their spine, which is quite violent for a Marvel comic, and then eating it, giving him powers of an omnipotent god. Once the varnish was dry, I had this spiky little bastard. It was really fun to play around with, but was again very pointy and could cut you. As for accessories, like I said before, I made the one hand which fits very specifically on the right one. Doesn't work for the left one because that's how hands are if you have simple human thinking and cognitive functions. I also had made a mace for him. And finally the third one, yeah, I didn't really like this one. It's the scythe blade thing. It's kind of a necessity for a Carnage action figure to have a blade or an axe. As for articulation, here's the basic rundown. And that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed if you have made it this far. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate every view I get. Sorry for the hiatus. I'm most probably gonna have 1 or 2 more of those. Also do the whole like, comment, subscribe thing. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.